In August of 2007, a couple of my college buddies wanted to meet up for a camping trip, halfway between their place on the East Coast and my home in Michigan. I suggested we camp at the site of the 1999 annual Rainbow Gathering, which had taken place in the Allegheny National Forest near Ridgeway, Pennsylvania. In '99, there had been around 10 or 20,000 people at the gathering, so I figured we'd have our pick of dozens of nice flat spots to camp. This was before the age of ubiquitous GPS on cell phones, but I knew the former gathering site should be very easy to find. All we had to do was drive a few miles north on Forest Road 136 to an unmarked road on the right, which would lead us directly to where the main trail began. I also knew that if we went too far on 136, we would reach a ghost town called Owl's Nest with a natural gas pumping station. I met up with my friends in Ridgeway and we caravanned out of town on Blacktop till we reached Forest Road 136 and started north. The further north we got on 136, the worse the road conditions became. We had to weave back and forth at a snail's pace trying to ride the rails between car-sized potholes. After quite a few more jaw-rattling miles, we turned our attention to the right side of 136, looking for that unmarked forest road that would take us directly to the 99 Rainbow site. Soon enough, we spotted an unmarked road to the right exactly where expected. We followed it into the woods where I expected to find a dead end, and the main trailhead where tens of thousands of hippies had tromped through 7 years earlier. We soon reached the dead end, but there was no sign of a trail. No sign of any impacted areas, really no sign of anything, or even that there had ever been a rainbow gathering anywhere near that site. Only dense woods in every direction. A quick hike into the woods surrounding the area produced no further clues. Assuming we must have gone down the wrong road, we backtracked and then continued north up 136. But in only a few minutes, we reached the Owl's Nest pumping station. We had been on the right road after all. We drove back to the dead end and hiked around for another hour looking for any sign of the rainbow gathering site, but finally gave up. How could an entire rainbow gathering site just disappear? Yes, it had been 7 years, but the impact of tens of thousands of hippies tromping through the mud being completely untraceable? Why and how could a crew of unpaid volunteers clean up, rehabilitate, and completely disappear what amounts to a small city of thousands of people, such that it could not even be found? So I set out to find folks that have participated in the annual rainbow cleanup to find out why and how they perform this annual miracle. We will examine the poo of cleanup, i.e. the logistics and how to actually do it, in a later episode. In this episode, we'll be talking to Rainbow Family to discover the personal, ethical, and spiritual reasons for this magical disappearing act. In this episode, we explore the woo of rainbow cleanup and restoration. So just so people can get a sense of what we're talking about here, how many people were assisting in the cleanup and about how long did it take?
It was like 15 or 20 of us for a little over a month to clean up that whole site, because it was a lot. We did all the things.
But Colorado was an outlier. The previous 4 or 5 years or so generally taken between 2 and 3 weeks.
So to be in the woods that long, cleaning up after a huge gathering of thousands of people and not getting paid and having to fend for yourself in terms of food, water, and supplies, there must be a major motivator or major reason for doing it. Kind of that's what I'm here asking is, why is it that you do cleanup? Or maybe you might want to talk about the woo of cleanup being like the spiritual aspect. Why do you do cleanup?
It has to be done because I think the bestest of the bestest are some of the ones that stay till the end, the heart and soul of the rainbow that care enough to make sure that this place is better than it was found. No one said that the last rainbow gathering we'll have is the one that we don't clean up.
Cleanup starts when you get there. I mean, we're always cleaning up. You know, the minute we get there, it's not a pristine anything. You're finding trash from the locals and trash from everywhere. So you got to clean that up so it's hospitable for you and your family to gather on, you know, so it has to be done. So yeah, that's why I do, because I want to go again.
there's a real principle and it's a pervasive ideology of leave no trace. You know, we want to leave the woods in the best condition we possibly can. I feel personally like I have a role to play in mitigating any ecological damage done to the environment. We just want to be good stewards of the land.
I think why I initially started doing cleanup, it was just sort of the norm in my tribe. I was just like, oh, these guys, they're my people. And they were like, yeah, we clean up everything. And I was like, well, that makes sense. I love that aspect. The woo aspect of cleanup for me is I am a nature baby. I can't even walk away if I don't know that it's going to be okay. I guess the woo for me is just respecting the nature. And that's part of why I feel so confident and comfortable about the rainbow, is because I know my friends are going to keep it tight.
Ultimately, the goal of cleanup is more to prevent people from reusing the spaces that we created at the gathering so that the woods can heal themselves. That's the biggest thing that makes the woods get better for the wildlife that has been using those woods for a long time before and after we ever showed up.
Why do you do cleanup?
The trash pile has like a real nice way of leveling the playing field socially. It doesn't matter where you came from or who knows you or where you fit in. You can sort trash all day and you're being useful and you belong. And I think that belonging is what really drew me into finding a place at the gathering where I could be useful. You can sort trash and just sit with people and have good conversations. Trying to sort trash brought me into the bigger picture of like how as individuals we're living in a semi-anarchistic situation. Are we going to take care of what we're doing to the land here? And then we have a responsibility to steward that land, and then we become representatives of each other through practice. There are also people who don't have anywhere to go and they need a place, and belonging and being useful is going to be the most beneficial thing that they've had in their life for a long time, is just to be part of something.
Why do you do cleanup?
I don't know. I kind of started doing gatherings, and like the second gathering I went to, I ended up showing up like the day it ended and doing cleanup. Met a whole bunch of really cool people, and they seem to be like the people who do things, and ended a ride on there. And over the years, I've just kind of gotten thrown back into it. And I kind of enjoy seeing the woods just getting all the shit out, knowing that it has happened. I think that's a lot of it. I just want to know that the stuff that was there is gone. More a peace of mind thing than anything.
Why I do cleanup. I do cleanup because I have seen how much of a mess we make, and it makes me feel like I can come back to a rainbow gathering knowing that I have stayed to the very end and knows that it doesn't look like that when we leave. And it looks better than it looked when I arrived the day after Spring Council. Also, because it's kind of the most fun part. In a kind of hellish way.
Well, I find that you get a second crescendo of spiritual mountaintop experience when you go back into the forest looking for micro trash or whatever, and you fail to find any. The exaltation then is equivalent to what we might feel on the high noon of Interdependence Day. Yeah, the satisfaction, the love you feel for the family and for the forest is life-changing. It's really the benediction, the completion of a gathering when we really have left it better than we found it. Not only that, it is after gathering, and there are ground scores. And an Arkansas gathering where I cleaned up, whole campsites were abandoned to the rainwater, and you could recover tents and sleeping bags and everything.
A lot of us were there because we didn't have other places that we needed to be. It's definitely one of the most trying things I've ever done, you know, because I think a lot of us who are like doing infrastructure things are doing it because we have fallen in love with the rainbow gathering. And that doesn't happen right away. We're cleaning up the woods, and a month into it, you're like looking at the people around you and you're like, we're all fucking crazy, aren't we? Like, why are we doing this? Like, we're not getting paid. We're all tired. We're all like mad at each other. Why are we doing this? And then you like realize, I love these people. I'm in love with rainbow. I'm in love with doing all this. It's totally a labor of love, every part of it. So it's like the passion is what makes you go out and cleaning up the woods for 2 months with no pay in the baking sun. Getting someone who's new to feel that, I don't think that's a feeling that can be forced. So from this conversation, it's making me realize that just as much as we have a responsibility to clean up the woods, we also have a responsibility to teach the people who don't know. And if you can't stay for cleanup, maybe like focus on teaching during the gathering. Even if it's one person that you have a conversation with about what microtrash is or whatever.
Why do I do cleanup? Because for me, it was natural. Ever since my first gathering, it made total sense. It just made total sense to stay for cleanup as long as I could. I really don't like calling it cleanup, even though I do. That's just a general term. I like forest rehab, forest rehabilitation. To me, the purpose, well, of course, has a lot to do with nature, right? But, you know, nature could deal with things. So my real thing is first impression by those that are going to be in those woods after us. You know, I know that sounds maybe a little bit aesthetic or whatever, but I really feel that puts a better taste in somebody's mouth after we're gone. And those are the things that we hear a lot from people that aren't arrogantly totally against us no matter what we do. They're like, oh my gosh, it looks so normal, you know, that kind of a thing. That's not my trophy, but that's my reward when I hear that. That makes me tingle quite a bit.
One of the coolest things about cleanup is that you literally get to see the benefits of your work. You see the woods come back to life. You start seeing the plants popping back up, and there you start feeling like the forest is growing, and you start hearing the sounds of the animals coming back, and start feeling like maybe what you're doing makes a difference.
Well, I participated in cleanup because I brought stuff into the woods, and I thought that I should take it out of the woods because I brought it there. And there's a lot of people that come to the woods on foot, and they're hitchhiking, and they got a backpack and stuff, and you know, they're not going to be able to carry out all the refuse that they produce, so we'll do a little extra.
Why do you do cleanup?
Well, there's multiple answers to that. One has to do with taking your time. At the beginning of the gathering, there's a lot of activity. There's thousands of people coming. There has to be different things into place. Otherwise, people are going to go hungry. At the end of the gathering, in a manner of speaking, you can take your time. And one of the reasons why I focused on after the gathering rather than before the gathering, I'd do my own schedule. I would get up, make a good breakfast. Then I'd go out, spend 4 hours doing sorting, take a break, go and make a lunch, kick back in a hammock maybe. And then I'd go out and then I'd work another 4 hours and take a break and go make a nice dinner. And then when there's other people involved, that's cool too. You know, I didn't really mention this, but loving the earth, doing this for the earth, caring about the planet.
Hopefully the negative impact we do in the woods is worth the positive impact we do on each other. And when I said that to the Forest Service guy, one guy teared up, you know, that he knew that we weren't thinking that we are perfect. We know we're doing impact.
Well, first I just want to say that the aspens have eyes, right? Like bark of the aspen grows, it's like they're looking at you, right? And I think being up at that elevation, and you see that all these trees are one organism looking back at you. And I don't know what spirituality is, but I do think that the forest is alive, and the ecosystem
that is the mountains are like living. And so when we come there, it hurts. Some of the people that I know, they were like, oh, we're gonna go get the OSHA. We're gonna go take the OSHA route back to our people. And I sing songs to the OSHA route while looking out for LEOs while they went and got their fruits. But I wasn't gonna take the route. I wasn't sick, so I didn't see any reason to take it. But they're like herbalists or whatever, so they want their OSHA. But like these plants all live there. These places we go, they have so many plants that are healing. Like if we lived at that elevation for our whole lives, like we'd have like all the medicine and all the life. And we go here, and then people are like, they look at it as a resource. Like the gathering is a resource, the woods are a resource. Let's take it. One part of cleanup is to recognize that it's not really a resource, but it's a place that's alive and that we took advantage of. We didn't get an invite. The woods did not invite us there. We went there. And part of cleanup is to make that right. Is to like leave it knowing that you know that it lives and that you want its health, and that when we leave the place that is the gathering, and that it's the mountains, that it's that ecosystem, that we like look eye to eye with those aspens, and we like, yeah, like thank you for your time.
And thank you for your time. I'd like to thank all the Rainbow family who plugged into this podcast by sharing their cleanup whys and woos, or any way they choose. And of course, big thank yous to all the cleanup crews, wherever you are. Tune in for a future episode about the poo of cleanup, the logistics and how to actually do the thing. See you in 20 minutes.
Kudos to the cleanup crew, to the wonderful crews, the ones that take it at heart. That'd be part of my woo for sure. When people ask me what's my best thing, I usually say I don't have a best thing. I have many things I like. Part of the many things I like of the gathering is the poo after the woo. Not the poo like the pooper poo, but the poo, the mess we leave behind, that we take care of that, so that's my woo. Poo. All right, it's a little weird, but heck, I just thought of that just now, so I didn't prepare that.